Hey folks, it's Viejo here. The video you're about to see here is one that I'm reposting from my previous channel that had been deleted. So if you've seen this video, feel free to bypass it and move along to something else. Won't hurt my feelings at all. But I have had some requests to repost some of the videos from that other channel that are not likely to get channel strikes against them. So we're going to do that. And at the beginning of each of those videos, you'll see this very same prologue, so you'll know. All right, happy shooting, casting, and reloading to everybody. Catch you later. Well, hey guys, it's Viejo here. It is the third week of May here in 2022. Kind of a nice mild day here on the central coast of California. It's about 65 degrees outside. I got 72 here in the garage though. And our humidity is at about 53%. A little windy. We've had quite a bit of wind out here lately, but not too bad. A couple things today. I want to show you about this new press. I had a little spoiler here a couple weeks ago. I showed you this press in a box that I got from a friend. Needed some TLC and it's all done and obviously set up and ready to go here. Let me cut in a couple pieces of video here and I'll show you a little bit of the process. It was all oily. I had to completely degrease it and clean it all up, and then I went and painted it, getting it as close to original colors as I can. This is the Lyman Spar T. Okay, it was also known, I think later, as the Lyman Special T. Had the same body and base and arm and everything here as the old T-Mag. The turret here is different. The T-Mags all came with a quick change turret. It's actually the same size turret. In fact, you can use those turrets on this press, but I don't have one. The T-Mag turret's a little different, had a couple little ears sticking out that you could use to mount a part of an auto prime system. And we'll talk more about the prime system here in a minute. But all the parts are here. I'm gonna change that funky handle out of there. The turret is in here wrapped up. It's in great shape. I've got my inline fab mount for it. Okay, got all my parts out of it. It's ready for me to get in there and get it cleaned up. I got the RAM out and so on. So this is going to be fun. All right, so here we are with this press. This is the old Lyman Spar T. Okay, it's just the only other markings on it over here are where it says ST. Two mounting holes, and our friend Dan there at Inline Fabrication had a quick mount for me, so that's handy. And I wanted to show it to you before I do anything to it. It all looks pretty good. Some of the threads down in here are not perfect, but I'm going to paint it. It's not going to be an actual restoration, so the paint that I use will be close to the original colors, which were gray, kind of a dark gray on the body, and the turret was red, kind of a light red color. The handle grip here is kind of split all the way down. I'm going to do something about that. I think I'm going to put a ball end knob on it. I've got some wood balls here that I can use. One of those, just drill a 3/4 hole in that flat, and that should work for the grip handle. I don't like this anyway. It's not really big enough for me. I had also originally thought about maybe coming in here and putting some holes into here for a handle. This was made to be turned by hand. There is a ball detent over here, and it works fine. You know, I don't think I'm gonna mess that up. I'm not gonna be doing a whole lot of high production with this press anyway. So I think I'm just gonna leave it the way it was intended to be used. It works fine. And here we are getting the pieces primed. So that's done. And then here are the colors we're going to use. We got a gloss black there for the handle. The turret's going to be this banner red. And the can on this one doesn't say what color it really is, but it's got a textured coat to it, which will kind of fit the cast body. Second coat's out drying in the sun. There's the handle hanging from a nut there. Here's the turret. Can't really see it too well, it's in the shade at the moment. Not painting the thread, so got some cork stuffed in there. On the top there is a big flat washer. That's going to be the, that part there is not getting painted. That's a bearing surface. So, all right, so let's get this opened up. We'll see what Mock sent us. I know what this is. At least I know what he said it was going to be. All right, be careful with this. There's loose little parts in there. So what this is, guys, is this is the primer arm system for the old Lyman press. All right, a couple of primer tubes. And in here we've got the primer arm itself. If it looks like an old RCBS arm, it's very, very similar. And then here is the auto feed body. I'm not sure how this is going to connect up yet. I'll have to play with that a little bit and see how. I don't want to spill anything. There's some small parts. Okay, that's a primer cup and spring down there. So as you saw, I got this primer arm in the mail from our friend MCK, that's Mark, and he had a couple of these old Lyman presses, and he sent me this arm as well as the auto prime system. And the auto prime system, consists of the two, primer tubes, and this part right here. Well, I got to looking at this, and it turns out that this was designed for the T-mag system that has a couple little ears here that this would clamp onto. And if I could get a hold of one of those quick change T-mag turrets, then I could use this, but it's not going to work with this turret. The way I found that out is I also came across this manual on eBay for about 10 bucks, and it has parts lists, and in fact, let me bring you down here closer and I'll show you this. So if we come down here and look, here is the turret that I have, and then here's the one that is the same quick change system for the T-mag, okay? And you can see here that this is the primer feed system right here that Mark sent me, and it's designed to hook into these little ears right here, which are not present on the turret that I have. However, this piece down here is similar enough. They do still make these. These are still available because they fit a number of the more recent Lyman presses as well. So anyway, that's what I figured out, Mark. And again, as it turns out, I'm not going to be able to use these on this press, so I should probably just bundle these back up and send them back to you. You may find a use for them. I would like to keep this one though, because it does work, and we're going to use it here in a minute. All right, let's take a look over here at the press then, now that it's all set up. All right, here it is. Okay, all painted up. Looks brand new. Okay, mounted on our inline fabrication quick change base plate there. Got a nice new hardwood ball handle for it. Works real well. Got a few dies set up in there so we can get some loading done. The turret, okay, operates very easily, as you can see. Okay, just the way it is. Don't need that extra handle on there. Here's our priming ram sent to us by MCK, and that works just fine, as you'll see. Inline fabrication still has quick change plates for this press, which is cool. The shell holders are fixed in there with that set screw that you see. Okay, you have to back that out before you can remove the shell holder. Okay, there's no spring clip in there like there are on the more modern ones. So that just kind of holds the shell holder in place, keeps it from falling out. The linkage is set up. If you look here, there's another hole down in here, and you can swap that. You can swap this linkage around on this press and set it up so that the ram will raise on the upstroke and drop on the downstroke backwards from what most of us are used to. There's a little bit involved. You got to knock some of the pins out down here and reset it up, but there's another spot for the arm to screw in down there. So I've got some dies set up in here. We're going to do a little bit of reloading here today. So let's look at our components. Here's the bullet that we're going to use. This is these are cast bullets, okay, powder coated. That's the RCBS 9mm-120-RN round nose bullet. Okay, very sharply defined conical shape there, but with a round nose. We're going to be using blazer brass. It's all blazer brass. I like to use all the same head stamp. Kind of helps keep your neck tension similar. Some of these different head stamps have a different thickness right at the case mouth, but these are all the same. We're going to use CCI small pistol primers, and we're going to use 700X for powder. Now, this press was designed, again, to be rotated by hand, not with a handle of any kind. And I think what I'm going to do, and the way that I'm going to use this, is I'm going to run all of my brass through at one station, then advance it to the next station and run it all through there, then advance to the third station and run it all through there, rather than having to advance the turret each time. It's a little bit stiff, and unless you get up here and grab a hold of the dies and turn it, with that leverage, be a little bit maybe kind of hard on your dies as far as trying to keep all of your settings correct, as opposed to using two hands on this lug, or on the lugs, to get in here and rotate that. All right, and I found that I had to get a little snug fit on here. This nut down here tightens down to keep this turret from moving, from moving this way, from having too much tweak in it, and to get it tight enough so where it'll do that and still not be pressing, any harder than a half a thousandth or so up against that base right there. I do have the bottom of this lubed up with a little grease. That this can be pretty snug. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, is just come in here. My brass over here is already all sized. The mouths are chamfered and they're all ready to go. It's all clean. So what I'll be doing is coming over here. I'm using the Redding expander die, which you guys know that I like for my cast bullets. Then I'm going to use the Hornady cedar that's got that sleeve, that guide sleeve in it, and whether that's of any consequence or not, I don't know, but the turns out that the stem, the seat stem in there, fits that RCBS bullet pretty well. And then I'm going to use my Lee factory crimp die for 9mm here. I've put all of my lock rings here are all Lee lock rings because they have the O-ring down in here to help keep from scratching up my paint. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get set up here and start the process. Now, you guys watching on YouTube, you know that I can't show you the loading process, but it's pretty simple. I mean, I'm going to go through here and start with my expansion and mouth flaring operation. I'm going to do that with all 50 cases, and then we'll come back and talk about the next step. That one felt good going in. Well, we got a little bit of weirdness going on here. Look at this. So I'm gonna stop the video here and take a closer look at that primer punch. See what's up with that. All right, well, I discovered something on the primer punch. See that little burr right there? That's no bueno. I'm going to take that apart and clean up that burr just a little bit. All right, so I took that small flat file and filed off that burr, and then used an Arkansas stone on the surface of the priming ram there. And I think we've got it pretty well slicked up now. So it's a little rough out there on the outer edge still, but I think it's going to be okay. Let's try this next one and see what happens. Well, that long arm on here really gives you a lot of feedback on seating the primer, and that one looks pretty good. Let me bring that up here and show you guys. Okay, so you can see it's seated below flush, and we don't seem to have any distortion out there on the base of that primer. That looks perfect. All right, so we got all of these cases now are sized, expanded, mouth flared, and primed. The next thing to do then is to come over here and get our cases charged. We're going to use the RCBS Uniflow for that. You know, we always like to go in here and double check visually. Pass our light. We're looking for a couple of things here. We're looking for the cases to appear to be all filled to the same height or depth, I guess. We want to make sure that there is powder in every case and that we don't have any under or overcharges. With this 700X, pretty hard to overcharge. You'll see it right away. Even at this low grain weight charge level, a double charge would overflow the case. All right, so that's good to go. I'm going to get the powder out of the measure and put the balance away, and then we're ready to go ahead and seat and crimp our bullets. All right, something else I wanted to point out that I discovered is that this turret had quite a bit of flex at that particular station. I don't know why it's not locking up. It may be that the detent hole in that particular spot is not quite strong enough, so I marked that hole and moved my cedar die over here, and I'm not getting any flex whatsoever here. All right, we've got all of those seated now at the correct depth, so the next thing that remains to be done is to come through and crimp them all. So as I mentioned, we're going to use our Lee factory crimp die. One thing I like to do with these is to come in here and create a little dimple with a center punch right there, and then just use a Sharpie to go in there and fill in that little hole. And what that does is it gives me a reference mark, so when I feel like I need to move this a quarter turn, it makes that real easy to pick up that quarter turn. Okay, you got to be careful. This is just aluminum, so if you go to try this on your own, you got to pad the bottom of that stem. You have to take it out of the die, of course. Pad the bottom of it real well, and you can get just the smallest little dimple like that's all it takes. All right, so we've got these all crimped. Sorry, I kicked the camera. And they've all been checked with our Wilson case gauge. They go in there and come right out. Of course, your best check, though, is going to be in the barrel of the firearm for which the rounds are intended. And what you're looking for is they should drop in there nice and easy. You should hear that plunk. Try to do this. Maybe I do it up closer and you can hear it better. Okay. And you should be able to see that the base of our case there is below flush. Right there. Okay. You should be able to still see that little chamfer right here. Okay. And of course they should just drop right out of your barrel. So that's what you're looking for. I try to make my ammo so that it will fit the most stubborn barrel that I have. That way I know that everything downhill from there will still chamber them. If I go the other way, for instance, my Glock 34 that has an aftermarket barrel in is very forgiving and it'll eat just about anything. But just because it fits in the Glock doesn't mean that it's going to fit in here. It might, but it also might not. Going the other way, though, if it fits in here, I know darn well it's going to fit all my other 9mm because this is the tightest chamber that I've got. Then the next thing we're going to do, of course, is come in here and book this loading session. In my load data book here, I keep hitting that camera, sorry guys. And so I have these all tabbed off for all the calibers that I do. So we'll go here to 9mm. At the beginning of each section, guys, I keep a printout from the SAMI specs for that round. A very handy reference to have right there. And then I'll just go in here and I keep a record of when I loaded these. And we loaded 50 rounds, and this was the RCBS 9-120- round nose. We loaded some 700X, etc., etc. I'm not going to show you the whole recipe there, but that's the load record, and I'm going to do the same thing on a label for my ammo box. Well, okay, folks, there you have it. We found out quite a bit about this press. This was the first time I had loaded with it, so you saw me find out a couple of things. We discovered we had one kind of a wobbly position here. We marked it, and I'll save that for functions which are not all that critical. Sizing, for example, where we're going to bring the ram up and kiss the bottom of the die anyway. That'll work fine there. No problems with a little bit of wobble. Maybe I'll end up putting a Lee auto drum powder measure or something up there. That won't be critical. But for seating our bullets, we want this guy to come up here and lock up good and tight. We don't want, a lot of shift, particularly fore and aft on this thing. So that particular one, I don't know why it is. It's not that big of an issue. We discovered a little bit of an issue with the primer ram on this one, but we got that fixed and that's working perfectly. And again, thanks to Mark MCK for that. Great addition. And it allows us, one additional function here that you wouldn't have otherwise. We got 50 nice rounds of ammo made for this specific firearm, which will be the subject of an upcoming video. It's a brand new firearm to me. Well, it's not brand new now. I've got 300 rounds through it. It'll be 350 shortly. It's breaking in just nice. But all in all, I'm very happy with this press. It was a fun project to kind of dig this thing up out of the grave and breathe new life into it. And it's going to be a useful piece of gear on the bench here. I'm glad to have it. It really is a nice piece. Okay, folks, for now, that's all she wrote.